get a 1-minute statement from our 5 speakers. What does employee experience and transformation into customer-centric culture mean to you and your organization? Let's start with Yasmeen Talat, please.
Hi, Carsten. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So at JLL, there's a lot, this statement carries a lot of weight. I would say that an organization like ours, where sales culture once prevailed across it, in which financial targets were prioritized above everything else, we are now compelled to undertake transformational changes in order to create something which is a sustainable service-based culture. And unquestionably, the primary focus of it remains the needs of the customer. We've now at JLL moved on from driving engagement and reinforcing behaviors that aligned with our company values to building a strong culture by considering the overall employee experience and how does it aligns with our organizational purpose and customer requirements. And I would quote that to say that our focus right now is to create a consumer-grade employee experience. We feel that happy employees are automatically more engaged at work. They add greater value and they feel that whatever they do, it really matters at the organization. This really and naturally leads to comparatively greater job satisfaction, better customer orientation, and finally translating into greater NPS scores.
Wow, that's a very comprehensive answer. Thank you very much. But I think the statement is going away from pure revenue or sales figures into customer and employee experience. Great. Same question to Mr. Kaustubh Sonalkar.
Thank you. And I think customer centricity is a value for Welspun. So we've been an organization which has always thrived on customer centricity. The last 1 year has been really different from all those years that we have been witnessing. And when you look at the customer, it has taught us too much in this last 1 year, and how you connect with the customer, how do you keep them engaged, how do you get your customer, even in these times, keep your customer continuously interested in what you're doing. And that said, how does where is your customer coming from? Whether it's an external customer or an internal customer, I guess a customer has to be looked at from his or her, direct interest. And when we are an organization which has a direct B2C connect, I'm happy to share that it's been a wonderful year for us as an organization to actually look at it from a complete environmental sustainability, the social and governance perspective, to reorganize ourselves, bring in the customer centricity, connecting with the customer digitally. Our whole value proposition has not changed. Now, even while we talk, we remain we remain one of the highest ESG scorers in India today. In fact, even our customer interests have not dropped. We have increased our EBITDA, our sales figures have increased, our customer satisfaction index has gone up, and it is only seen. What have you done and why have you gone that extra mile in terms of taking care of your customer, connecting with your customers, understanding their needs, and now it has moved away from becoming a holistic customer outlook to a personalized customer outlook. So every customer has a unique requirement, and that is where this time has given us to think and how you actually get into individuality of the customer and reach out to him or her and make sure that they're satisfied. The things have changed. Digitally, we can now reach out to people. You can actually have people internal as well as external.
I think, make sure that they are. I'm sorry, I have to cut you short. We said 1 minute. I'm sorry for that. Right?
Sure.
I'm sorry. But I think the key takeaway, what I find very beautiful, is that you even don't say employee, you say internal customer. And that's actually a very good statement, right? Why do we have to call them employee? They are also our customers. They make our living with us. They spend the whole time with us. So thank you very much for that. Okay, same question about what employee and transformation into a CX culture means to you, Ms. Shyamala Deshpande.
Shyamala, you are on mute.
Okay, sorry. I believe happy employees make happy customers. If I were to take that maxim ahead, how do I know how an employee is feeling? I think personally, I leverage the power of conversations. The more we converse with our employees, the more we listen to our employees and have deep, meaningful conversations, I think not only do we get to know what makes an employee tick, but we also get a lot of information on how to move towards customer satisfaction and delight. And I believe with the way things are changing so much, customer delight is actually a moving goal, and so is employee satisfaction, because I think everyone wants more and everyone wants it now. So my one takeaway as an organization would be to listen more to employees, glean more insights from employees, not only about them, but the customers that they're meeting. Like my co-panelist said very clearly, it is the concept of the chain is weakest at its weak link. So when you look at taking something to the end consumer, there are a lot of links. It could start with the manufacturing, it could start with the design, and go right to the salesperson at the end, where there is a moment of there is a moment of truth at the customer point. I think any breakdown in any of these areas, so internal customer satisfaction, I think, is imperative to reach your end goal of customer satisfaction.
That's great. I think for me, a very good takeaway from that is listen to your employees. We from Asia PMO, we have a podcast, and I'm sorry to mention that here in the C-level round, but we say, if you want to know about your clients, never ask the CEO, ask your front-end people. Your CEO hasn't probably seen a client for the last 3 months, unfortunately. So the most knowledge about customer lies in your staff, probably not in you, unfortunately, because you are bogged down in internal meetings and stuff. But the best ideas for customers have employees, and the most in the front lines. Yeah. Okay. Same question to Mr. Metzen Cherian.
Yeah, I'll just add on to the fellow panelists what they had mentioned, what employee experience means for us and how does it transform to a good customer experience. I was just thinking aloud the journey that we had a few years ago, where we spoke about, where we looked at the journey of moving from a centralized to a decentralized world, where we empower people who are close to the customers, take decisions much faster. Because what happened is earlier the processes used to be very much centralized, and the employees used to have a lot of ideas, a lot of suggestions, a lot of thoughts, wonderful thoughts coming on the board. But what happens is eventually gets somewhere stuck, because of the hierarchy that you have in the organization, and then invariably it impacts their experience as well, and then we lose their engagement, right? So that's where we felt that we need to work based on trust. We need to work based on empathy, and we also need to work on the values that we have. And so to me, in my experience, what I've seen in my current organization so far, we are on the journey of moving into decentralization, where the employee who's working frontline with the customer, he or she takes the decision. Of course, he or she can always go back with the organization whenever he or she is in doubt. But so that the employee feels empowered, has a good experience, saying that he could take a decision on behalf of the organization, the right intention. And just to add on, also our Volvo Group values that we have. One of the values that we have is on customer success. So that also means that how much employees are able to relate themselves in terms of giving success to the customer. So that's my initial take on this topic.
I think that is great. And what we really need is to empower people. That's what you said. Empower people on the front end to take also decision, and also that they can completely deal with the customer, right? That's a little bit, and that we also have in the organization the right feedback channels, that we can listen to our front end people. Because a lot of CEOs are always telling me, oh, Nobody's telling me anything yet because your organization, your culture, or your feedback channels are not there. So when we speak about customer experience feedback, we also need employee experience feedback channel. Thank you very much. Last one for the round here to kick off, Mr. Manoj Kumar Sharma, please.
Thanks, Carsten. For us, for Aarti, its dimensions. So Aarti,
I cannot hear you very well. I don't know how the other panelists.
Carsten?
Yeah, we cannot hear you very well. Can you try again, please?
All right.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. I mean, some bandwidth issues lost. So let me cut it very short. I said everyone in Aarti is a Aarti engaging leader, and Aarti engaging leader is but just to give a perspective, is the one who lives Aarti values of care, integrity, and excellence, who works in alignment, who speaks and listens powerfully, who operates in a natural state of action, and who is a cause in the matter and co-creates a world-class company. And here, all internal and external customers are the stakeholders, key stakeholders in this process as a Aarti engaging leader. So everyone in Aarti, is provide this value proposition for customer centricity point of view.
And I think that is great because, like you said, everybody is important. Somebody said before, we have a chain of people which can everywhere break down. And a customer has so many touch points with an organization, right? So we also have to make people feel important towards customer. Thank you very much for this initial round. This was already very, very informative. Let's start with some individual questions. Let's start with Mr. Metzen Cherian from Volvo. How can culture support your organization and employees to deliver an amazing customer experience and to continuously improve?
Okay. So just to give a background about our culture, of course, every organization believes that company culture is about how we interact with each other, our customers, and society as a whole. And we also have the same belief that our culture helps us achieve our business objectives. And it's firmly rooted in our history from the time the company has been started in the 1920s. And it's critical to our company's long-term success. And that's where we believe that's the foundation for us where everything is built. And our culture is further defined by 5 carefully chosen values, which is one of them is on customer success, which talks about the employees are empowered to take day-to-day decisions across all levels of the organization, so that they are the closest to the customer. They are able to deliver the requirement of the customer, and also they are able to meet another customer's need as well. And that also goes in line with our brand promise we are talking about in terms of building a world-class solution, so the customer feels there is a promise being delivered to them. And that's where our culture is looking about how do we kind of a shared culture where it's not only with a single person, it's a group phenomenon. The second, it is also about it's a multiple layered culture where it's applied for everybody in the organizations, not just for one person or not just for a few sector people. And at the same time, that even through the tough times that we had for the last 1 year, it had to endure a lot. And that's where the culture that we are in today is in terms of how do we enable to sustain our organization even through the tough times where the customers' needs are being met and so on. So that's where our culture has been defined, and that's how it's been helping us, our employees, to meet in the customer's journey.
That is great. Thank you very much. So you have a lot of tools, you have a lot of empowerments, you have a lot of communication structures, processes to make that work, right? And that's very good. Thank you very much. We carry on with Miss Yasmeen Talat. Can you tell us how do you practically transform the culture in GLL towards customer experience and storytelling and away from a pure rewards program?
Carsten, I believe you've given me a very tough question. As a rewards professional, you've taken the tooth out of the comb by, taking away rewards from the whole value proposition. Nevertheless, I will make a sincere attempt at it. So before, I start answering this question very straightforwardly, let me just give you a brief background about JLL and, actually how we began on our culture transformation journey. So it was, just to give you a brief industry background, it's actually somewhere around 6.6 trillion USD market in terms of real estate, which is controlled, by 8 very high profile and professional organizations across US, JLL being one of them. And approximately half of all worldwide office lease deals are some things, which are kind of executed by these 8 professional services firms. Our transformation journey started somewhere, around August 2004, when our new CEO, Colin Dyer, was appointed to JLL. And the firm was doing really well. We had astoundingly well financial results. The clients were really happy and we were growing. But our board saw it differently, and they gave a very simple mandate, but a very effective mandate to Colin Dyer, our incoming CEO. They wanted him to grow our profitable business while ensuring, that our value proposition to our clients increased, and we were the only ones that came to their mind whenever anything related to real estate cropped up. Seems simple, but it carried a lot of weight, and many of us at that point in time had thought, everything is going on very well. Why change? Why now? Why do we need to do that? But we were told, and very rightly so, and I'll take you back to another adage which says that it's during the peace times that you actually practice the war games, because when it is war, you actually fight. That was when we started kind of, embarking on our cultural transformation journey. And we realized it was an increasing market. It was that market at that point in time was burgeoning with many clients whose real business was not real estate, and they wanted to kind of increase the real estate efficiencies by bringing in professional advisory firms who knew the markets, who knew the cost efficiencies, and who could help them create more space efficiencies as well in their corporate offices. And at that point in time, JLL was kind of organized across 3 different market segments. We had our corporate business. We have our client, what we used to call as CPS. We had our client services. We had our PDS, and then we have our tenant representation. What we thought, and they would come up with a different transaction in each side of the business. JLL will go as a CPS or a leasing firm, or they would go as a design and services, professional services firm to the client, and we didn't approach them as JLL. Each business unit was kind of approaching, and the clients were tired of it because every time they had to explain the same story to different business units, approaching them differently. When we thought in bringing in, client account or client managers, and those client managers had the liberty to pick up the best of the people across, across all 3 business units to bring in a winning value proposition to our clients. With, that said, and how rewards is very important in a real estate, especially, with the commissions and everything that come into for the brokers. And at that point in time, JLL kind of pioneered this kind of integrated service solutions, that we call it integrated solutions. And we said that we are not a product firm which will approach our clients separately for a different product. Instead, we are an integrated solutions firm. We go to our client with solutions, and we do not approach them for a specific service requirement. You tell me one thing, I will.
So just two aspects, sorry to interrupt you. So the main topic you said was you restructured your company away from products and away from your internal processes into client units, like holistic serving client units end to end.
Absolutely, giving rise to literal customer centricity at JLL, Carsten, because we organized, instead of being organized business unit wise, we started organizing ourselves around the client. So there was one client account manager, and he had his team of people across tenant services, across CPS, and across PDS. And we started selling them more services, more bundled services, and we achieved through the number of transactions what we were previously in, achieving through our margins after the recession. If you remember, 2008 was a market meltdown which happened, in which real estate suffered the most. But thankfully, because we'd started practicing our war games before actually we hit it, we kind of helped, this kind of helped us navigate through that recession as well. And, in terms of the storytelling, I would say that, we carry on this success and visibility of, the viability of our customers centricity at JLL by sending out client stories. And it comes out directly every fortnight from our CEO's office. And it talks about what makes a client win so special about it.
But
and
why, can I ask you, because my previous statement, why it comes from the CEO office? Why it doesn't come from the frontliners directly? The stories should be collected at the front line, right? Why they cannot shine and send it out? Why it has to go, that's always, and when we spoke empowerment, what Metzen said, right? Whatever you channel anything up to sea level, I honestly don't agree so much on that, right?
So here is my, answer to that, Carsten. The thing is that we do collect our stories from our front line, but our line has a limited exposure to the number of audience or the number of people who would open up and read their emails. But when from the CEO's office, it goes across the length and breadth of the organization, and almost everyone opens up that email and reads that up. Not just that, through emails we do that communication. These client stories, they get narrated in our team meetings. We have Monday team meetings that we call for each client business. We have these client meetings where these get narrated. How did we win? What made that win special, etc., etc. And
I think that's great. I'm sorry to cut you short here a little bit.
Yes, and just to give you a flavor of the JLL culture, or the way we have evolved, I would say our CEO advocates very fervently that 25% of all leaders' time should be dedicated towards clients. 25% should be towards people, and then there is the rest 50% that goes towards the firm operations and every other meetings. So a minimum of 3 client meetings a day is what she targets. So that's how we feel that even though our frontliners are meeting our clients every day, but our CEO also leaves no stone unturned to ensure that she is also in the direct connect of all the clients and hear them directly.
And that is great. That is very important. Thank you very much. And if you have that as an OKR and KPI, which is measurable, even better, right? That is amazing. Yeah, that the people can follow up, and you don't get the story secondhand. That was a little bit my comment. I'm sorry for that because I didn't understand your culture.
No.
But if you get also first-hand stories, this is amazing. Yeah. Thank you very much.
And if you have some time, I would like to narrate one of our most often narrated stories of, how...
Can we do it at the end and let the other speakers first go through? Okay, we still have some open discussion time. Thank you very much.
If we'll have time, I would like to repeat that. Definitely.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to Mr. Kapu Sonalkar. Which trends do you think support your employee and customer experience and at the same time benefit marketing too?
I think I wouldn't talk about trends, but I guess it has to be the culture. The culture of customer experience is extremely critical, and it has to be inculcated in the organization as part of the value and part of the culture, as part of your DNA. And I guess if customer centricity, customer experience is part of your DNA, your employees themselves become your marketing agents. And I think there is no better way of making you need ambassadors of your own. It's not about being only being customer centered. If it's a value for you, if it's practiced, it always translates into your employees or your internal customers becoming far more your brand ambassadors, and they start talking about it. And that's where as a culture, as a DNA, when it is showcased, when it is showcased to outside people, and outside your customers, it becomes your marketing strategy. I think it is employee advocacy, as we call, is the biggest marketing that any organization can have today. When we talk about this, we are one of the top. We are world's second most consumer textile manufacturer. We actually have home textile, which is every towel which is sold in the world, fifth towel is manufactured in Welspun. Every bedsheet sold, about seventh bedsheet in the world is sold by Welspun. And we have repeat customers, and it is those customers which has happened. The growth has happened over, not today, but it's been consistent and year on year growth about 20 to 25% minimum on the bottom line, as well as on the customer numbers. It has been amazing. So I believe it's a marketing for us has translated into sales. And even though it's an introverted group, when you have that as part of your DNA, you have happy employees. When you have happy employees, you always have good stories going out. As you were just talking about storytelling, I think there are a lot of good stories which come out of it, in terms of what happens, how are the employees being treated, what are the employees being done, how are they treated as one valuable customer internally, one valuable customer external. So one happy internal customer translates into 10 happy external customers. And that's a study that we got. So our average translation of external versus internal is about every internal customer is equivalent to about 11 external customers. And that's an amazing translation every month. So that's what, there is a study on that. We have a real-time customer, internal and external customer evaluation, and how each individual treats them for that. And that's what is the key to our DNA.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I mean, when you care about your employees, right? When you give them a great experience and they give your customer a great experience, this is a marketing. This is a little bit more mid-long-term marketing, but if you do that very consistently, it gives you a very good image. It gives you a very good PR and marketing. Thank you very much. Ms. Shyamala, how to motivate employees to care about customers and to care about the experience of the customers and what they think about your company?
I think I'd like to start with an adage which says that culture eats strategy for breakfast. I think it starts with defining your organization culture and your larger vision and goals. For me, most of my work experience has been working with entrepreneurs and supporting entrepreneurs in actually redefining, or I wouldn't say redefining, but clarifying and putting into comprehensible sound bites the culture, values, the vision, mission, and goals of the organization. And I believe this is an exercise which needs to be revisited every year, to every 2 to 3 years, to take stock of what has worked and what course correction is required. So I think the organization philosophy on employee and culture customer centricity gets cemented right at the beginning. So for us at Wildcraft, I think our value systems and our competency structure actually came to life when life came to a standstill during Corona. Just for this group, very quickly I'll go through our competencies and values. Entrepreneurial business acumen, agility, quality excellence to give the best to our customers, and collaborating and influence. We actually brought out a product which is a Wildcraft respirator, which was the quickest product design, from design to concept design to manufacture to take to market in exactly 3 weeks. So I think this is when rubber meets the road, and you are able to actually see whether your internal what you give to your customers as a value and a competency proposition actually makes sense to the customer. And I think once you have these in place, that the rest is all operationalizing your induction, your onboarding, your town halls. But very important to keep going back to measuring through customer focus KPIs. And my colleague earlier mentioned about NPS. That's a very, very strong measure. Not only do we do NPS for customers, we also do NPS for our employees, because we want a healthy, more than 50% of our recruitment happens through referrals and without any rewards. Employees genuinely believe that the culture of the company. And I think we have a very flat hierarchy. Having too many layers does not help you in being customer centric, because decisions normally get kicked up many layers, and you know I'm not someone who believes in that. And I think constantly bringing customer focus into business discussions, and when you work with entrepreneurs or CEOs, actually leverage their power of storytelling. I think that's the best way in which you can get an entrepreneur starts a company because of the fire in his belly. If you can get him periodically in different forums to actually bring back to the reason of what the firm existed for, I think that becomes a very, very powerful motivator.
I think it was great. As a great takeaway is that the motivation should come from the people. So you have to create an environment where people are motivated to work with excellence towards the customer, to recommend you as an employer, and so on. And of course, you need to measure that also. I mean, you have to see in which direction it goes. And that's great. Now, that's maybe also a difficult question, Mr. Manoj. Do you see any revolutionary approaches or any further trends for cultural change towards a customer experience coming up?
Yeah, it's a difficult question, but let me attempt. Revolutionary approaches. Yeah. I'm a strong believer of where the locus of control should be internal in nature to bring any excellence. So, so we have done quite a lot of work with our, with our people, whosoever enter in our premise, with respect to developing them as a better citizen. And that is where we our transformational theme is a high performing team co-creating a world-class company. And this transformational theme is lived by each and every person who enters in Aarti premises. And we have trained them, and the most important part of it, how it turns or cultivates into a business reality or a business growth. For us, partnerships are very, very fundamental to our business strategy. And if you see the growth of Aarti Industries, it's about a 4-decade-old company now, and it has continuously grew over the decades. We have a long-term partnership with our very key customers, I would call it. We have about more than 1,500 customers across 60 countries. And all these customers over the years remain sticky to us. Why? That we actually did the diagnosis internally with the set of our folks, and we realized we have always taken decisions for our customers basis our values. And we have kept our values of care and excellence as a very primary focus to decide the customer requirements, I would say that. Even if many a times we have noticed, we have a case study, in Japan, one customer got bankrupt. We supported that customer for all economic reasons. And after a couple of years, that customer really, when he came out of his threat, they are still continuing a business with us. That kind of stickiness, and that is where the whole aspect of values, the softer aspect of values, or the the cultural attributes, or the everything is in language at the end of the day, Carsten. The language our people speak and the language they communicate, they communicate themselves. So everybody is trained around that. How you can really take care and demonstrate that behavior when you are interacting with your key customers or key stakeholders. So we have a very metrics in place or standards in place for all stakeholders, whether it is banking institutions or communities or your customers from the sales point of view, or your own people or employees, or your promoters. All behaviors are listed, do's and don'ts are listed, and standards are listed, so that they can orient and conduct themselves so powerfully. So I feel this is a little revolutionary in nature, where you have brought that level of power in the minds of the people to conduct themselves so that they are free from any kind of threats.
Thank you very much. And I think the revolutionary part here is maybe not to jump from trends to trends, to keep really very stable values over the time, to communicate and live these values with your people. Yeah, because I see in the CX community that people run from one hype to another, but a consistency is sometimes missing. And I think what you said is very beautiful, that you show consistency and the same values and you don't compromise. And that's very nice.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. And I think that's great for the individual session. Let's come to the discussion part. So what I haven't heard yet, and maybe our questions were not so much in this direction, is how do you trigger customer experience on the reward side? Do you have anything in place besides sales KPIs or OKRs? Do you have idea rewards? Do you have best customer? Is there anything you do there to a little bit incentivize, or is it purely cultural?
I can share some examples at the front end for retail stores. I think to be able to celebrate what an employee does at the moment of truth and creates a very happy customer. So periodically we invite employees to share stories and publish them as a newsletter. I think that creates a kind of it's great learning, because if you have a chain of stores, then something that happens in one store can actually be replicated across. But it also, most of these stories about that one individual taking that decision. It may not be, and usually we find that in 95% of the case, they've either tweaked the process by looking at what the customer needs and bent over a little bit.
Okay, that's great. So you have some praise and recognition on the communication level. Thank you. Anybody else has other?
So I just attempt. In our case, we have our own rewards and recognition platform. It's a Hindi, what we call it, Arjun, and that is meant for creating this, I would say, energy in the minds of the people in terms of appreciation, rewards, or linking it with the small token in cash and kind as well. So that is what is being promoted. It's peer to peer also, and it's like superior to peer, and it's we have also gradually including the external stakeholders to reward and recognize some people. So that work is in progress. As of now, it is very internal in nature.
Has anybody of you I see now in our employee experience more and more tools coming up, which we also consult, that people can give to each other peer-to-peer points and
Yes.
360 rewards, and then you can take these points and buy a cinema voucher or a massage or whatever you want. Like little stuff, but really feel-good stuff. Yeah.
So I just mentioned, so that's the platform we have in place, and it generates all kind of such behavior, and people can reward peer to peer, people can reward their manager as well, and to anybody in the system for the good work done, and for any joint projects they can celebrate their success, like this. So it's there, and it's very automated, and that decision of reward is in their hands. So it's some kind of empowerment.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
Carsten, that at JLL you've heard about the client stories. I mean, the way we focus on client stories, and then we have a very strong recognition platform that we call as Ovations. So it is a quarterly recognition program that runs organization wide, in which people get nominated and get recognized for the various contributions that they would have done, not to just to their own specific clients or just to their own business units, but how they have collaborated, and we call it one JLL. How have they collaborated across business units, across clients? That and that is supported on a very strong tech platform as well, which is WorkHuman, that we call, and we have this strong culture of thank you cards as well, wherein people kind of send in thank you cards peer to peer, like Manoj just mentioned, peer to peer, reportee to manager, etc. And then we are already working on the collection of the points. The number of points that you get awarded on WorkHuman is something that you kind of collect and then buy something in addition to the financial rewards awarded through the Ovations platform. And then the third peg, the third leg of this holistic program is something that ties to our incentives. And within our incentives as well, we've assigned a 25% weightage to collaboration across business lines and business units. And we call it one JLL culture, exhibiting one JLL values. And even though I become eligible by way of my performance for certain awards, for certain commissions, for certain incentives, but the payout is strongly linked to the feedback that comes in through other teams with whom I have collaborated, or I have referenced clients, I have gone out of my specific business unit to help the client in another business unit to deliver, solutions, like we say, solutions to them and not just products. That's that's what we call at the JLL.
And I think that's very holistic program that you combine that all. Yeah, that's great. It's amazing, and that you have. And what is also what I like about that, and also what Manoj and the other ones say, you make it very transparent what people get on different levels. So it's not only depends on a one-to-one relationship with the manager, if he likes you or not, and if the word goes through to higher level that you made a good job or not. And I think an empowerment, what we also do in our business with OKR consulting, is alignment and transparency, right? That really helps people across the organization and makes them feel safe, and also know if they perform, that probably somebody could recognize it and something could happen. So we have now 6-7 minutes left. I would like to ask the MC if we have some Q&A question from the audience.
No, Carsten, you can take the closing statements from everybody.
Okay, good. So I think we had beautiful statements around culture, about tools, about structures and everything you do to make your employees, or to care about employees, and that they care about the customer experience. Yeah. Can we have a closing statement around what is the most thing your customer like about your frontline employees? Yeah? What is the most thing your customer like about your frontline employees, and probably the service they give? Thank you. Who wants
For
to start?
me, Carsten, it is their service centricity they bring to their role.
Okay, thank you.
I think I would also like to tie to the opening statement, Carsten, what we said about, the client centricity and the way we really reorganize ourselves apart just from the, the rewards and the other bit, but the cultural transformation that we've brought on, through our reorganization around the client in terms of literal client centricity, wherein a client manager has the leeway to pick up the best of the office leasing teams, the advisory teams, and business analyst teams to bring out the best integrated solutions to the clients. And that's what they appreciate about JLL. They say when we come to JLL, we do not get a specific advice, but you guys kind of look gamut of real estate offerings for us. And whether or not that's on the table up for discussion, you would still go ahead and provide advisory, and you would work out the cost efficiencies and space efficiencies for us. Not thinking about that this is not what you've come in for, but you think from the client point of view to say, what is it that can be done for us to, to make our operations more efficient.
That's good. So it's the holistic approach, not only internally, but especially externally, that you have one product, one solution, yes, and the client goes to a solution center rather than to different departments. Yeah. I think that's
I would say one solution, but multi-product. One solution that could have products knitted into it.
Yes. That's beautiful.
I think it's for us, it's about working with our sales team to be able to actually listen more to customers and understand their needs, and then suggest a product solution. Because being a product company, it becomes very easy to say that I have X products, why don't you buy it? Taking that conversation a little later, talking about price and products a little later, but actually finding out exactly what the customer problem can be solved by Wildcraft.
So to put the customer need in the center of the discussion, that's absolutely, and listening to your employees also to understand this customer need, or like in some organizations say, also make any level in the organization go out to the customer and listen directly. Yeah, I think that's great. Thank you very much. What I like from Asia PMO, for us, customer experience is part of business transformation. Same like employee experience. And it only works from our consulting experience if you really create internal, external feedback channels. If you really create an alignment between your people, if you really work towards the same goals, and you create a very high, what a lot of you said, a very high transparency. Yeah. On the customer side, where do all the pain points and needs come from, and they are communicated, but also the same transparency on the employee side. What are they empowered to do as frontliners? Yeah, how can their feedback get through? To whom do they go? How do they get motivated? By, some of you said, by communication, some of you by incentives, some of you by points. And I think this is very important, that we embed customer experience in a complete cultural and business transformation. And we cannot only start in one part. So thank you very much for that.